I'm back, guys. Sorry for that. They gotta fix this YouTube mobile shit. I know it's not my phone. My phone is new. It's got less than a month ago. It's annoying though. Can't open camera. How can you open like an open camera? The camera is new. Thank you for liking. I appreciate it. If you new, hit that subscribe button. Who texted me? Oh, Cat. Somebody texted me. Just somebody. YouTube, they need to fix this shit as soon as possible. Let's watch ABC News. What happens going on today?
Killed while trying to help get them out. And now the new storm moving in tonight, much of the east and Philadelphia, in fact.
How you doing, Julian?
Up to a half a foot of snow possible. And New York City set to get hit again. Ginger Z standing by to time this out. Also tonight, the new and scathing report on Uvalde from the Department of Justice. Tonight suggesting the failed response allowed more school children to die. Police were in that school 3 minutes after the gunman.
Everyone, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs.
In Uvalde. Also breaking news tonight in a case that stunned the nation. The murder of a young pregnant wife, Lacey Peterson. Tonight, ABC News learning the LA Innocence Project is now taking up the case of Scott Peterson.
That's good they have a channel.
Of murdering his wife Lacey and their unborn child. What attorneys for the group are now saying tonight. The news tonight involving the DA in the Georgia case against Donald Trump and 18
Please no spamming.
The judge now scheduling a hearing over the DA's alleged misconduct, what she's accused of, and what she has said so far. Pierre Thomas standing by. Donald Trump taking aim at Nikki Haley. Haley firing back, asking who lost the midterms in the last presidential election. Just days to go until New Hampshire, and Rachel Scott is there. In New York City tonight, major news in the case of the alleged serial stabber wanted in several stabbings. Tonight, the suspect now under arrest and where he worked. The moment of the explosion in Washington, D.C., the blast under investigation tonight. There is widespread damage. News on Princess Catherine and her condition tonight. Prince William was there today, and what we've now learned. And with the brutal cold gripping this country, looking out for our neighbors. And the doctor tonight who got on his ATV in the snow and what he did. America Strong. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News.
I'll look at it later.
With David Muir. Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And we begin tonight with these deadly winter storms. Tonight, the images just coming in, the passenger plane off the taxiway, moments after landing in Rochester, New York. Frightening moments for the passengers there. An American Airlines plane veering off right after landing from Philadelphia. Authorities at this hour blaming the weather. There were 53 people on board. Firefighters helping to get them off the plane late today. Down the New York State Thruway to Buffalo, New York tonight, the lake effect snow relentless. More than a foot of snow in the last 24 hours.
How you doing,
Buffalo
Victorian?
double what it usually gets in January.
Good evening.
Already. And now tonight, this new storm heading out of the Midwest, reaching the Northeast by morning. In Philadelphia tonight, a winter storm warning up to a half a foot of snow possible. Washington, D.C., right up through New York City, all bracing again. It all begins with the morning commute. Ginger Z standing by to time this out, and ABC's Trevor Ault in Buffalo tonight.
Yo, what's up, Mr. Rich?
Scene at the Rochester airport. A packed passenger plane sliding off a taxiway moments after landing.
Ooh, no.
The American Airlines flight carrying 53 people from Philadelphia veering into the snow-covered grass. Firefighters helping passengers off the plane with no injuries. Michael Trickey was on board.
That just kind of rocked people pretty hard when it came to that abrupt stop.
Is that trees? Yes, it is. It's trees.
Set to slam the Northeast.
No, it's not guava. It's the devil's lettuce.
Notorious for snow, and yet already this year they've had well over 30 inches. That is more than double what they typically average for the entire month of January. And in the West, a Portland family mourning the deaths of 3 people killed in an ice storm. The father of 2 of the victims says a downed power line trapped his 21-year-old daughter inside her SUV, along with her boyfriend and their 9-month-old baby.
Hell, good weed. Yes, good weed.
Electrocuted upon stepping out of the vehicle, along with her 15-year-old brother Teron, who ran in to help. Majaya Washington was nearby and ran to save the baby.
I was just thinking, like, I have to save this baby or not. In the moment, I didn't think it was saving him. I kind of still don't think of it as saving him. I just think of it as something that anybody would have did.
Officials now urging families, if a power line falls on your car, stay put and call 911. And if there's a fire and you have to...
Don't worry about if it's bad for my lungs, bro.
With your feet close together.
Please remain in your vehicle. The insulation of the tires should keep you safe.
And David, here in Buffalo, you can essentially find these giant piles of snow on every single block. And as for that airplane in Rochester that slid off the taxiway, well, the airline has now confirmed that happened because of these snowy conditions, and the FAA is now investigating. David?
Trevor Ault leading us off here tonight. Trevor, thank you. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z. And Ginger, a second snowstorm now headed our way. First thing tomorrow morning, we're going to see this.
There's other things. It's not as bad as tobacco.
David, in Rochester, they had visibility down to a mile or so on each hour on either side of that accident. On top of more lake effect snow, those will dwindle tonight. But look at all these winter weather advisories from Montana to New Jersey, Philadelphia in a winter storm warning. The advisories for freezing rain down south to Huntsville, Alabama tonight. So let's go ahead and take you through the
Those
track.
people that smoke worse thing than weed. Just hit that like and subscribe button, everyone. Thank you.
Early morning. You slide it across, and for most of I-95, it's going to start in the morning commute. Bad timing. The heaviest late morning through early afternoon. So right around lunchtime, you're going to see the big stuff. Philadelphia now in that 3 to 6 inch range. They've had about their average to date. They could double that by tomorrow. Big deal after measly.
How you doing, Tyler Roach?
Look at this. The wind chills get even colder this weekend. It'll feel like 16 below, David, on Sunday in Chicago.
Ginger Z with us tonight. Ginger, thank you as always. We're going to turn now to the new and scathing report on Uvalde from the Department of Justice tonight, suggesting the failed response allowed more school children to die. First responders were actually inside that school within 3 minutes after the gunman got into the building. So why did it take so long to get to him? The faces of the victims, 19 children you'll remember, and 2 teachers were killed. And
I remember.
Authorities have now revealed tonight. ABC's Maria Villarreal.
Happy birthday. Just don't mention your age.
Tonight, a scathing new report from the Department of Justice paints a fuller picture of what they're calling cascading failures by law enforcement in that deadly mass shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas, that took the lives of 19 children and 2 teachers.
Had law enforcement agencies followed generally accepted practices in an active shooter situation and gone right after the shooter to stop him, lives would have been saved and people would have survived.
The report setting the timeline at 11:33 a.m. on May 24th, 2022, the 18-year-old suspect, armed with a high-powered AR-15 style rifle, enters through an unlocked door. Within 3 minutes, a group of officers entering through the same door. And 4 minutes after the gunman enters the building, 5 officers taking fire as they move towards the classrooms. They retreat after 2 of them are hit with shrapnel.
Am I bleeding? Am I bleeding? Am I bleeding?
The report says after 3 attempts to reach the classrooms, officials changing their tactics from an active shooter to a barricaded subject approach, which delayed attempts to breach the classrooms as they tried to negotiate with the suspect.
They wasn't supposed to do that.
School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo, who had been among the first to respond, instead directing officers to search for keys to unlock doors to the classrooms where students and teachers were trapped.
Yes, I'm high, so high. I'm so high,
Was likely unlocked.
so high.
For 77 minutes after the first officers entered the school, no one going into the classrooms, even as dispatchers received 2 phone calls from students inside. 10-year-old Chloe Torres was one of them.
I'm in classroom 112. Please hurry. There's a lot of dead bodies. Please.
It wasn't until around 12:50 that officers went in and took down the suspect, nearly an hour and a half after first responders arrived on scene.
As a consequence of failed leadership, training, and policies, injured and scared students and teachers remain trapped with the subject in the classrooms, waiting to be rescued.
Veronica Mata lost her 10-year-old daughter, Tess.
I would hope that she didn't have to sit there for those 77 minutes and see everything that her friends were going through.
That's sad.
Clarity but not closure for these families, David. The Department of Justice report did not bring up any possible criminal charges. That was not their focus. It's actually the responsibility of the local district attorney right here in Uvalde to handle that. But the DOJ did list a number of recommendations for law enforcement. Meanwhile, former law enforcement agents that were criticized in this report, we have reached out to them but have not heard back for comment on this report. The city of Uvalde says they continue to review it and will release additional comments in the near future. David?
2 years of pain.
All right, Sean B.
Maria Villarreal tonight.
Welcome.
Thank you. There was also breaking news tonight in a case that horrified this nation, the murder of a young pregnant wife, Lacey Peterson. Tonight, ABC News learning the LA Innocence Project is now taking up the case of Scott Peterson, who was convicted of murdering his wife, Lacey, and their unborn child. What attorneys for the group are now saying about new evidence and about Scott Peterson's claim of innocence. Here's Kana Whitworth.
Tonight, a stunning development in the Scott Peterson case. The Los Angeles Innocence Project, now representing the man convicted of murdering his wife, Lacey, and their unborn son on Christmas Eve in 2002. Their bodies found in the San Francisco Bay months later. Peterson, now 51 years old, is currently serving life without parole after his death sentence was overturned. The Innocence Project, a nonprofit known for helping overturn hundreds of convictions. The LA chapter, stating in court documents, quote, evidence has been discovered that points to Mr. Peterson's innocence and points to the actual perpetrators of the crimes against Lacey and Connor Peterson. The motions claim a burglary that occurred across the street from the Peterson home around the time of Lacey's disappearance was not fully investigated, and that witnesses who saw Lacey walking her dog the morning she went missing were not properly interviewed. The filings also request more DNA testing of a van found burned 1 mile away. Peterson maintaining his innocence, arguing that the prosecution presented no physical, forensic, or direct evidence linking me to the deaths of my wife and son. Just months before his 2004 conviction, Peterson sitting down with our Diane Sawyer in 2003.
Everybody sitting at home wants the answer to the same question. Did you murder your wife?
No, I did not. And I have absolutely nothing to do with her disappearance.
And David, attorneys with the LA Innocence Project say that Peterson's rights were violated, and they say that his actual innocence is supported by new evidence. David?
Kana Whitworth reporting tonight. Kana, thank you. We turn now to the news tonight involving the DA in the Georgia case against Donald Trump and 18 co-defendants.
Wow.
The judge in the case now.
So he could be actually innocent and sitting in prison.
Tonight,
Wow.
what she's accused of and what she has said so far. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, a Georgia judge ordering Fulton County District Attorney.
He been in jail for 20 years.
To answer allegations she is improperly engaged in a personal romantic relationship with one of the special prosecutors she hired to help her try the sprawling election interference case against former President Donald Trump and his 18 co-defendants.
Wow.
The accusations against Willis came in the filing by one of those co-defendants, former Trump campaign aide Mike Roman. Without providing evidence, he claims Willis engaged in a secret relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, who her office has paid $650,000 to help try the case, and that Willis personally benefited because Wade allegedly used some of that money to take her on lavish vacations.
I know they're gonna have to pay him a lot of money.
Respond to the accusations. But speaking at a church service honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., she did say this.
Lord, never mind your flawed, imperfect servant has composed a team that wins, and wins.
And she implied Wade is only coming under scrutiny because he is black. The other two special prosecutors she appointed are white.
I appointed 3 special counsel, as is my right to do. Paid them all the same hourly rate. They only attacked 1.
Willis did not confirm or deny a romantic relationship.
They said his
Wade.
DNA is not involved, so
All 3 of these special counselors are
I will watch it if they do another trial.
I'm just asking,
Scott Peterson versus LA.
Is it that some will never see a black man as qualified, no matter his achievements?
The defense attorney who filed a complaint against Willis says the accusation has nothing to do with race. The judge has called on District Attorney Willis to respond by February 2nd, and a hearing has been set for February 15th. David?
Pierre Thomas in Washington. Pierre, thank you. On Capitol Hill tonight, House Republicans revealing Hunter Biden will sit for a closed deposition on February 28th as part of their impeachment inquiry into President Biden. Republicans had threatened to hold Hunter Biden in contempt of Congress because he insisted on being questioned in public and not behind closed doors. We turn now to the race for the White House. Donald Trump now taking aim at Nikki Haley, and Haley tonight firing back, asking who lost the midterms and who lost the last presidential election. With days to go now until New Hampshire. Rachel Scott is there.
Tonight, with just 5 days,
of course,
Haley taking aim at each
if they found the person that killed his wife, like the true person now,
Oh, God bless you. Spread the word. Let's get
they
out.
have to pay him a lot of money.
Taking her entire
But the
campaign
21 years
on
he's been locked up, 22, 23 years.
A drag on the Republican Party. You look right now.
Who
Congress
killed
is
his
getting
wife?
nothing done. Why? Because
You
there's
did it,
no
Kat Randall.
majority in the House. There's no majority in the Senate. The infighting is happening because we lost the midterms because of Trump again. Trump telling his supporters the exact opposite, that Republicans will lose if Haley is nominated.
A vote for Nikki Haley this Tuesday is a vote for Joe Biden and a Democrat Congress this November, because that's what's going to happen.
Today, Haley firing back.
He says if you're the nominee, then Republicans are not only going to lose the White House, but they're going to lose races up and down the ballot. Your response?
I mean, Trump says things. Americans aren't stupid to just believe what he says. The reality is, who lost the House for us?
I'm just fucking with you, Kat. I'm just messing with you, Kat.
Tonight,
I don't know who killed. If there's another trial, we'll find out.
News said he expects that she will win by a landslide. Now he says they're hoping for a strong second place finish, David.
All right, Rachel Scott in New Hampshire.
Most likely there'll be another trial.
Thank you. Tonight, the House and the Senate have now passed a short-term funding bill averting a partial government shutdown, essentially by moving the deadline now until March. Government funding was...
Wow, that's how you do it, to move the deadline to March?
The second part of the funding moved to March 8th. House Speaker Mike Johnson pushing back against pressure from hard-right Republicans to add a border amendment. The temporary spending measure passed with help from Democrats. When we come back here tonight in New York City this evening, major news in the case of the alleged serial stabber wanted in several attacks, now under arrest tonight, and where he worked. We also have news on Princess Catherine and her condition tonight. Tonight, a New York City hospital worker, he was a hospital greeter, is now under arrest for that stabbing spree here in New York. Jermaine Rebour has been arrested for attempted murder linked to 6 attacks in 10 days, mostly in Queens, including one attack, though, on the subway in Brooklyn. Police say he worked at a hospital in Brooklyn. Detectives say they have recovered the hunting knife used in the stabbings. Tonight, the investigation into a gas explosion in Washington, D.C.
So you work at a hospital and you go stab 6 people?
The blast destroying a store, littering the street with bricks and debris. At least one person was hurt. Fire crews were already there responding to reports concerns.
People are fucking nuts.
Gas leak. When we come back here tonight, news on Princess Catherine in the hospital and her condition tonight, what we've now learned. To the index tonight, and Princess Catherine is now recuperating from abdominal surgery in London. Royal sources tonight say she's doing well. Kensington Palace releasing few additional details, but tonight saying the condition is not cancer. Prince William visiting her today. She's expected to remain in the hospital for up to 2 weeks. When we come back here tonight,
Abdominal
blinding
surgery?
snow,
I had
Arctic
abdominal surgery
temperatures, and a
twice.
baby coming. So what did the doctor do? In a moment here.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, sponsored by Pacific Life, creating financial security for more than 150 years.
Finally tonight here in this brutal cold, from the kindness of strangers to the determination of one doctor. Tonight, the brutal cold across this country and the warmth from so many quiet acts of kindness. In Pittsburgh, all over town, you can see it. The scarves tied under railings on bus stop benches. For 9 years now, Suzanne Volpe and her team of more than 20 volunteers have been collecting scarves to give to people in need, sewing them too, donating 2,600 scarves this year. And right here tonight,
Hi, David. These are some of the scarves I'll be putting out.
Suzanne with the next batch of scarves ready to go out.
It makes me feel like I'm helping people. People really appreciate it.
Do you wear scarves, Kat?
And it makes me feel good.
And in Shenandoah, Iowa, northwest
You wear a
of Des Moines,
scarf?
Dr. Chase Brown got on his ATV, driving it through sub-zero temperatures and through blinding snow. He said it was the only way to get to the Shenandoah Medical Center on time to deliver a baby girl, Berkeley Gardner.
Snow went everywhere, went flying in all directions.
Dr. Brown was determined to make it.
Good evening, David. Thanks for having me on. I'm grateful and blessed that I get to be a part of these opportunities to take care of people here.
And joining us tonight,
Hey, David. Meet Berkeley.
that's 5-day-old Berkeley with her mom, Crystal, and her dad, Craig.
We're grateful for the community that we have and the doctors and nurses that made it to the hospital during a snowstorm.
Tonight, the quiet acts of kindness.
You don't wear
Dr.
scarf for.
was determined
So what do you
to get
wear?
And he did. Welcome to the world, Berkeley, and thanks to the doctor on the ATV. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.
You found Wake Up Weather on ABC7 and why. This is also your weather discussion for whether or not. And boy, do we have a lot to discuss as we get into a major storm. The last time that we had a storm in New York City that was over 6 inches.
What
of
the
snow,
hell is that?
You have to go back
Blaka
5 years
Vaka.
ago. If you want over a foot of snow, you can go back 6 years ago. It's been a while. 6 inches, very likely a foot is on the table in New York City, but there are so many other elements to this as well. So first thing is laying the foundation of the dangerous cold, which is coming to us from the Great Lakes and of course directly from the Arctic. The temperatures in the Great Lakes today are sub-zero with wind chills that are 30 to 50 below in some cases. So that's the type of air mass that's coming our way. And the reason that we have a cold weather advisory from later tonight all the way into Saturday morning. And there'll probably be additional cold weather advisories over the next week. We're looking at sub-zero wind chills and frostbite that can occur within 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, and then the major winter storm. And this is Sunday into early Monday. The
Guys, let's do this. Get me 30.
On Sunday.
Let's get me to 1,000 subs. I'm very close. Very
when we get our
close.
heaviest snows, and you can extend that
28
into the evening
more.
hours north and west of New York City. We will get some mixing with this. Winter storm watches have all gone to warnings across the area for a widespread heavy snowfall, but also some sleet and freezing rain mixing in, especially from the city on southward, maybe in parts of Long Island. A glaze of dangerous ice is possible, even enough that we can cause some damage across parts of interior New Jersey and travel hazardous, if not impossible. Sub-zero wind chills will develop by Saturday morning. It will be sub-freezing in terms of temperatures the next 10 days. So an incredible stretch coming up. The snow moves in by Sunday morning toward daybreak and quickly accumulates. We've been so cold, we will maximize every flake.
Don't
The
forget
brunt of
hit
it
that
will be during
sub.
the daylight
Subby.
hours. Sleet is going to mix in Sunday afternoon.
Subby button.
And that's really the key to the snow accumulation, city and coast, is the period when that mixing occurs. If it occurs at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, then we'll be toward the lower end of our totals. If it waits until late day, early evening, then we're toward the higher end and toward double-digit snowfall in New York City. But again, from New York City south and east, there will be some mixing and even some dangerous
Thank you for
freezing
liking.
rain south and west of New York City. The snow and icy mix, that's going to taper Sunday evening. The precipitation rates will start to drop off into the evening hours, and then the colder
Hey, Sean
air
B. How
rushes
you
back in
doing
as the
today,
storm
Sean
moves
B?
away, and we're back to lighter snow later Sunday night and Monday morning with some small additional accumulations. So when we go through the futurecast, these are temperatures Saturday morning. 1 below Monticello, 4 Poughkeepsie, pair of 12s in Central Park and Islip. It is 10 in Belmar. We go through the day on Saturday and we struggle through the upper teens. The wind backs off a little bit, but basically it feels like 0 to about 5 during the day. The clouds thicken during the day. Now here's what happens late at night. The first
how's
snowflakes
everyone
start to
doing?
creep
Hi.
in to southern Ocean County. Remember, these are the areas that are going to
How
mix
you doing,
first.
wild
But if we
dog?
start seeing some snow falling during the overnight, we will start stacking up in a hurry. So notice toward daybreak on Sunday, the dry air is letting up and allowing some flakes into New York City. At that point, though, we can already have some steady snows in interior New Jersey and certainly southern New Jersey. This is the window where you're getting most of your snow into Sunday morning because we're going to mix into the afternoon hours. But we go to midday and we are peaking in snowfall rates across the area. 1, 2 inches an hour, very low visibility, snow coming down hard and sticking and stacking up in a hurry. At that point, we're 20s down the coast and we're seeing some sleet mix in up to about Monmouth County. Now, here's the key time period. We get into 3 o'clock. If we can continue to snow in New York City, we will continue to stack up. We still see the mixing trying to get close to the I-78 corridor, and then we get closer to 4 or 5. Now I think we are seeing some mixing in New York City, and it's when some of the precipitation may start to get just a little lighter as we get some of the heavier bands that are over Connecticut and Long
You're in
Island.
Atlanta,
We go to
Georgia,
the
right,
evening
Sean B?
hours, and again, if it gets a little heavier, it could go back to snow, could be going back and forth across the city and parts of Long Island while we still snow heavily north and west, and then start to see lower intensities probably after 9 or 10 o'clock. But there are some additional snows that continue to stack up toward midnight and even into the early morning hours during the day on Monday. So with that in mind, we have our ceiling of about 8 inches right along the Jersey Shore here, but we're going to get a good thump in here. So we could still achieve some of these higher totals, just the mixing is coming in during the middle of the day. Then you have your 8 to 12 inches through central New Jersey and in New York City and definitely the North Shore of Long Island. And once we get north and west of I-287 and we're a pure snowstorm with this, we're going to go foot and a half. Some places could even get more than that in the storm. Again, if we don't see that mixing, like it was just portrayed, get into New York City till 5 o'clock, we're going to get a foot of snow in New York City or more. This is the other component I want to make sure you know about. Look at the nearly 1/10 of an inch of ice that's getting into parts of central and southern New Jersey. Look at the Philly area, about 1/3 of an inch of ice. That could be damaging, even cause some power outages here at the very least. Treacherous travel is made even worse by some of that icing. And there might be a time where even New York City goes over to some sleet or maybe a little bit of freezing rain mixed in. As we go through the day tomorrow, remember, your wind chills are going to be basically climbing through the single digits to maybe low teens at times. But for the most part, I think it's going to feel a little bit more like 0 to 5 tomorrow. Sun gives way to clouds, brutally cold. And looking at that particular wind chill map I just showed you, that model looked a little erroneous in terms of its wind chills. Figure it feels more like single digits to around 0. We are 14 tomorrow night, cloudy and frigid, sub-zero wind chills. Snow develops toward dawn. Here's your 7-day AccuWeather forecast. Extreme cold on Saturday, 18 feeling like 0 to 5.
Right now it's 15
Snow comes in toward
degrees.
daybreak. Heavy snow on Sunday.
15
Some
in the
afternoon
Bronx.
icy mix, especially the city on south and east. And on Monday, it is a bitter cold, brutal cleanup. And just looking, many of you are worrying about school on Monday. The thing is, at least in many of our suburbs, even though the majority of the storm is gone, the fact that it will have dumped a lot of snow and some ice in some cases, and we still are probably getting some lingering light snows in the early morning hours, I'm leaning toward more cancellations than just delays. It's just going to be such a very challenging cleanup for our crews. It stays frigid on Tuesday, not just Tuesday. Look at this stretch. Thursday, we have to watch a little system offshore, which could actually bring a little snowfall. We'll have to watch that along the coast. And we stay brutally cold into late next week. This is likely to turn out to be the longest stretch where temperatures stay sub-freezing since 2018. That's the way the forecast is shaping up now. Again, we'll continue to raise or lower snow totals dependent on when we see the mixing. We know we're pretty much a lock north and west for the major snow totals, but the city certainly still has a range at this point. Keep tuning into ABC7 NY, and of course, always on Channel 7. We'll first thing we know of any changes, you'll know first as well. Thanks, of course, for going on ABC7 NY for your wake-up weather and your whether or not discussion. Stay safe in the storm. We'll take you through it.
Remember, guys, bundle up.
With conditions, they're calm right now, but that will soon change. Starting tomorrow, we have 3 first alert weather days.
I still gotta go. I still gotta go out on Saturday, on Sunday, Monday morning because I have a doctor's appointment that's more important than staying in. So, so health is more important. Y'all want to watch some Nancy Grace?
He's talking about on the dating apps how he wants children, how he wants to settle down, yet he's all alone. I wonder why. How many nights did he hunch over his computer screen watching Monique?
Now, I can't get past this, Nancy. He did this because his kids were in the house.
Do you know how difficult it is to get your mitts on a silencer? All that planning and all that plotting. Breaking news. A killer smile. Truer words were never spoken. A surgeon dazzles. He beams this megawatt smile on the dating apps just before he travels nearly 400 miles to gun down his ex-wife and her new husband, according to police. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. Michael McKee, the vascular surgeon, multiple malpractice and claims against him. Something pushed him over the edge. Both of the Teppies are dead.
You know what pushed him over the edge? That he's fucking crazy. That's what pushed him over the
Children are
edge.
orphans. They probably will remember the murders of their parents. I watched their wedding video over and over and over, preparing for tonight. And as I was watching it, looking for anything probative in the video, which I found, by the way, I wondered how many times vascular surgeon Dr. Michael McKee went over and over and over that wedding video. They were married and murdered in the same home. Married and murdered in the same home. This as the defendant, the vascular surgeon, awaiting extradition on multiple counts that have just been handed down. We uncover his dating apps. I mean,
They show that while his name is Michael, 32, vascular
footprint.
surgeon.
Now think about it. This is according to police.
Who's on Bumble?
He's on these dating apps, pouring out his soul about how he wants to have children, how he loves hot yoga. And then he's watching her. There he is with a slew of lawsuits he's facing, including one guy with an amputated testicle, another with a catheter shard stuck in his leg.
Ew.
He's talking about on the dating apps how he wants children, how he wants to settle down, yet he's all alone. I wonder why. Looking at her wedding video. How many nights did he hunch over his computer screen watching Monique, joyful in that wedding video, posting photos of her pregnant in front of the Christmas tree as he drones on dating websites about how he wants children one day? That said, now we learn about a silencer. Come on, I can't wait for the defense attorney, bring it on, to tell me this was not premeditated. Do you know how difficult it is to get your mitts on a silencer, or as it is called in the business, a suppressor? Listen.
Michael McKee, indicted on 4 counts of aggravated murder in the deaths of his ex-wife Monique Teppi and her husband Spencer. The indictment specifies that the firearm used by McKee was equipped with a muffler or suppressor, commonly called a silencer. McKee also faces an additional charge of aggravated burglary for allegedly breaking into the Teppi home to commit the murders.
Joining us, an all-star panel to make sense of what we are learning tonight. That should run a chill down your spine. Common knowledge, common belief is that suppressors, silencers, are illegal. You can't get one. Maybe a mobster or a dope lord.
Yeah, you can't get
one. That is
one.
not true. You can get them legally. As a matter of fact, just recently, a bill was passed in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. Now, nothing good happens after midnight. Is a
So you could get, it's legal to get a silencer. Wow.
passing a bill in the middle of the night. Does that sound sneaky? It does to me. Because what they did was take away a $200 surcharge on buying silencers. So now anybody can have them, including, according to police, this brilliant vascular surgeon Michael McKee. Oh, excuse me.
Yo,
On the dating
silencers are
website, he
illegal
says, "Call
now,
me Mike."
bro.
You know what? I'll just call
Why
you
would I
Jeff
buy
Bennett.
one if I'm planning
Straight
to
out
kill
to
somebody?
Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, star of the hit new podcast series, Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan, but for my purposes, death investigator. What can you tell me about silencers as a vernacular for suppressors?
You know, Nancy, one of the fascinating things about suppressors, because contrary to what people think, they are not silencers. You cannot knock down in totality a supersonic round. That means a round that actually travels at the speed of sound or higher. It does knock it down a few decibels. Now, here's the interesting thing. When you purchase a suppressor, and it's suppressing the sound, right? You have to be registered with the ATF. So the ATF absolutely has a record of this, unless this is something that was either purchased on the black market or something that he built, which people can do these. But here's one of the big keys with
Yeah,
this
you could
thing.
build one.
It's not only that he's on the radar relative to the suppressor, you have to have a specific weapon platform. That means the handgun this thing was attached to, Nancy, it's got an external threaded barrel. So if you see someone that takes a suppressor, they have to literally screw it or attach it on. And those weapons are very specific. So from an investigative standpoint, we're talking about connecting the dots here relative to not just the suppressor, but also the pistol itself.
We are talking about the fact that a suppressor, silencer, was used in the murders of Monique and Spencer Tepe. And to Susan Hendricks joining us, investigative reporter, journalist, and author
you don't like Nancy
of a
Nancy
bestseller,
Grace?
Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi. Susan, many people didn't know about the allegation a suppressor was used, which requires a lot of forethought, right? You've got to match it to your gun. You got to set it up. You've got to get it. Who needs a suppressor? Who needs a silencer? We learned about it in this indictment. Tell me about
Nobody
the indictment.
needs that shit.
Yeah, Nancy, and that's an excellent point. He did plan it out according to this indictment, charged with 4 counts of aggravated murder, and 3 counts of the aggravated murder include exactly that, having a silencer. And the 4th one includes just brandishing or showing the firearm. It appears he planned more of what to do rather than the aftermath of it.
We have gotten our mitts on the indictment, and that is where many people learn that a muffler, suppressor, silencer was used. You know, I want to go back to Joe Scott Morgan. How does a silencer work for a layperson, if you could break that down? And would a silencer be registered on NIBIN, the NIBN, which is the National Integrated Ballistics Information? Could you explain how, in lay terms, does a silencer work? Don't get technical. And would there be a trace of it? Could it be listed on NIBIN?
Okay, let's take how this thing works in the first place. It's if you think about a silencer as like a can, shaped like a can, cylindrical, and you split it down the middle. It's got a series of, and there's different forms, but this is the basics. It's got a series of little baffles or fins that are in it. And so just imagine, if you will, that as that round is traveling down that barrel, okay, the sound of it cracking the sound barrier is actually being caught in these little fins. And so when the thing exits the end of the muzzle, you only have almost, it is audible, but it is not like, if anyone has ever been near a weapon when it fires, it's not going to sound like a car backfiring. You might hear something that sounds just under the sound of a slamming door, perhaps. And of course, that's dependent upon the weight of the door. But as this thing travels down range, these little baffles inside the cylinder are catching that report, if you will. Now, back to NIBIN. NIBIN is fascinating because most of the time with NIBIN, what they're doing is they're looking for question ballistic information. So if someone shot at a scene, they're collecting the casings. Remember back in Delphi where we had the casing that had the striations on it. And also they're collecting the actual projectile as well for the
see,
scratches on that surface. Now, as far as nibbing holding suppressor information, I'd probably say not. However, that thing is managed by the ATF, and all of these suppressors have to go through the approval has to go through the ATF, Nancy.
You know, to Dan Murphy joining us, former NYPD Detective Sergeant, conducted hundreds of interrogations and investigations, co-host of the hit podcast Gold Shields, and author of Workplace Safety. Dan, thank you for being with us. What goes through your mind, just off the top of your head, when you go to a crime scene or you arrest someone and you find on their person a silencer?
That person is using it or intending to use it for criminal activity. He wants to mask the sound of the weapon being fired. Now, in this case, we know from the history of the case that there was not much in terms of weaponry heard by people outside. Weapons are very, very loud. Handguns are very loud, especially inside in closed spaces. You're talking about 140 decibels as possible, which is louder than the loudest rock concert you've ever been to. So that sound would alert people on the outside.
Wow.
The presence of a silencer indicates somebody typically wants to use it in a way that no one would know he had used it. It would not be alerting people outside or in the vicinity.
Wow.
Joining us
I didn't
now,
know that.
veteran trial lawyer, former felony prosecutor, now civil and criminal defense attorney, Daryl Cohen. Daryl, thank you for being with us. Daryl, when you were a prosecutor, we would practically dance up and down the halls with glee if we found a silencer on a crime scene. There's nothing good about a silencer, much less if it was in somebody's car, in their backpack, hidden in their trunk, or still attached to the weapon at the crime scene. A silencer. There's nothing good about a silencer. I mean, you see people driving around in pickup trucks, they've got their gun proudly displayed on the right behind them, right? But a silencer, oh, no. You don't advertise that you're using a silencer. There's nothing good about a silencer.
Nancy, as a prosecutor, I love silencers. That was an additional witness that was saying the owner of this silencer, muffler, suppressor, whatever you want to call it, is guilty. Thank you so much, because I don't have to worry about giving the silencer its rights. I don't have to worry about cross-examination. It is what it is, and it is a fabulous witness. Absolutely. I loved it. Didn't happen often, but when it did, it was terrific.
You know, Daryl Cohen, the first time I had a case with a silencer, it was a drug lord. And it was this beautiful, posh high-rise on Peachtree, right on Peachtree, you know, in front of God and everybody. And as a matter of fact, the co-defendant in that case went on to raid a room, a hotel room with O.J. Simpson, Charlie the Tuna, Charles Ehrlich. It was his place. We performed a search, and there was a silencer. I had never had one in a case. I knew it meant a drug lord. I knew it meant somebody in the mob. That's who uses silencer, and there it was. I couldn't believe it. And it spoke volumes, just as you said. Now, put on your defense attorney hat. Why does this vascular surgeon have a silencer?
Yeah, why?
Nancy, I would advise my client, if he was my client, KYD BMS. Keep your damn big mouth shut. Because there's no excuse to have a silencer. There's no reason to have a silencer. There's no reasonable explanation to have a silencer. Unless, of course, you didn't want people to know, or anyone outside of the immediate target area, the crime scene, to know what's going on. So that's why, as a silencer, if he was my client, I would keep his mouth shut, and I would try to dance around and ignore the silencer. And when the direct evidence came out, the direct questions to law enforcement, I would ask them no questions, because in this case, less is
well, Daryl,
more.
I thought your first move would be to try to have it suppressed. Oh, that was an illegal search, blah, 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 blah. Fruit of the poisonous tree, blah, 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 blah. Aren't you going to try to get this thing thrown out so the jury never finds out about it? It's in the indictment.
But I'm making the assumption that Judge X, whoever is presiding over the trial, is going to say, thank you very much. I appreciate that motion to suppress, but overruled.
You know what, Daryl Cohen, in those crime scene photos, the drug lord that had the high rise, like 500 feet down from where Elton John had his high rise on Peachtree Street, in the crime scene photo, there was a suppressor beside a giant dildo. Okay. And
a giant what? Did he
really
just say dildo?
I had to have it in evidence to show the suppressor. Okay. So that said, this suppressor is going to come in to evidence. And I don't care what you or any other defense attorney tries to do, how many somersaults you turn and cartwheels and back bends. It's coming in. She probably heard that muffled sound Joe Scott Morgan was describing as he, McKee, according to police, shoots her husband in bed and then shoots her. Yeah, it's coming into evidence. Listen.
Multiple weapons were taken from the property of McKee. And there is a preliminary link from our NIBIN to one of the weapons that ties it to the homicides.
Local and Columbus police in and out of McKee's 12th floor Chicago apartment with boxes of potential evidence, lugging it down to a Columbus PD crime lab van in the underground garage. Residents receive a notice authorities will be investigating over several days, and they shouldn't be concerned by the officer posted outside McKee's door. Preliminary testing leads them to believe one of those weapons is connected to the Tepes murders.
Did you find any other evidence in his home in Lincoln Park?
What I can tell you is that we did search his property and we have evidence, but I can't speak to any specific evidence.
Why not?
Okay, Joe Scott Morgan, lightning around. First of all, can a silencer, I don't know, would a silencer have any markings on it from the bullet and vice versa?
Not necessarily. It would be benign at best. As a matter of fact, silencers actually, there's some studies that indicate silencers increase the velocity of the round, if you can imagine that. No, the key to this, Nancy, is going to be the internal barrel of this weapon. And Nancy, whatever they found there, they took those weapons immediately. As soon as they got them, they went to the lab and they did preliminary ballistic testing on those weapons. And if he's got multiple calibers and they find, let's say, 9mm shell casings at the scene of the murder, they're going to narrow it down to that one weapon, take it and fire it. And they've got some kind of scientific confirmation in their mind that they've got a match here.
Hey, let me follow up on something that you said that I did not know. You said that silencers in some studies are shown to increase the velocity, the speed of the bullet. Did you say that?
Yep. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I sure did.
Can you imagine this? Just keep this scene. He gets, according to police, of course, he's innocent until proven guilty under the law. He, according to police, and he's huge now. In fact, when I was doing an online chat the other night when we were covering Tepe,
it makes the bullet faster.
If he had steroided up, and I'm going to show some before and after shots in just a moment. Yeah. But back to what you just said, Joe Scott, him standing foot of the bed, this is already going to be a close range shot, which is, you know, tears you up, tears your body up. But with a silencer that increases the velocity at close range.
Yeah, there's a possibility that it could, according to the scientific studies that have been conducted. And a lot of that has to do with the compression that's behind, is contained within that. Some people refer to them as cans, contained within that can that is pressing it downrange towards your target area.
Right.
But here's the thing, and I can't get past this, Nancy. He did this because his kids were in the house. That's why he did it. He didn't want to alert them to this.
I don't know, Joe Scott, that he did it to protect the children. If he had any feeling toward the children, he would not have murdered their mother and their father. I think it was so witnesses, like, you see how the houses are close together? Let's see a shot of the neighborhood. There's tall, they're almost like row houses. If he had not had a suppressor, then I think the next door neighbors would have heard it ringing out at 3 a.m. Oh, this video is from our friends at WSYX. Another thing to Dan Murphy, and then I'm going to go to Karen Stark, our shrink, to figure out why he kept all this as a memento. But Dan, we all know that bullets can be traced back to the particular gun. It's like a fingerprint.
Yep.
Each gun has its own markings inside the barrel. How does that happen? That happens because when the gun is manufactured, the metal cools, and there are little drippies and droppies in there. And as the bullet hurtles down the barrel at high velocity, it gets striation, markings, skins on it, and it's called striation markings. That bullet and that gun have a 100% ballistics match. No other gun can leave those particular markings, scratches, striations on a bullet. No other gun. Like nobody else has your fingerprint, no other gun can do that. But what people don't know is that casings can be traced back to a gun as well. How?
It has to do with the marking made when the bullet is hit. The round itself is struck, and that causes the explosion inside the round. So the firing pin leaves a mark that is traceable back to a weapon. It is unique.
And Joe Scott, he's right, of course. Dan Murphy, former NYPD. Joe Scott, what does that firing pin marking look like on the casing? Just tell everyone that's not familiar with ballistics, what is the casing, what is the bullet, and what marking would that firing pin leave on a casing?
Imprints.
Okay, so at the base of the casing, you probably can't see this real clearly, there's actually a primer cap. It's a little concentric area right here. Just imagine a bullseye target. Yeah, that's a great image right there, guys. So if you see that little silver area right there, that pin strike that Dan's talking about, pin strike is unique to that pin as well, okay? So when that pin is actually milled, as you were referring to it, it strikes that, and it's going to leave a very specific marking behind. There's a couple other areas that we look for. If there's any way you can put that image back up. If you see the kind of rim that's around the outer perimeter of that silver bullseye, when this round, this is a semi-automatic weapon, so when this thing is actually grabbed by the ejector inside of that bullet, inside of the housing, it grabs it, and that's an extractor, and then there's an ejector. So it grabs it, and that grabbing motion makes an impression on that surface, and the ejector, as it's cast out, makes another specific marking. So there's about 3 different areas just with the casing alone. I'm glad that Dan brought up the pin strike because most people forget about that, and that's key here. So you've got 3 points of contact, and we're not even talking about the projectile that they would have recovered either from the bodies or in the adjacent area if it passed through the body.
All that planning and all that plotting, driving through the night. According to what we have learned, he had reserved a bed back at the hospital like he was going to sleep there, sneaks out, travels nearly 400 miles carrying a gun and a suppressor. He didn't know the casings are directly linked back to the gun.
On December 30th, 2025, at approximately 10:04 a.m., Columbus Police Patrol officers were dispatched.
You should tell her. You should send her an email.
North 4th Street on a well-being check. Officers arrived at the scene and located the 2 adult victims suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. We now know that they were identified as Mr. Spencer Tepe and Mrs. Monique Tepe. Their 2 small children were also found in the residence, physically unharmed. This was a targeted attack. This was a domestic violence related attack. As we know, McKee is the ex-husband of Monique Tepe. We can say that we have the suspect's vehicle on neighborhood video surveillance arriving just before the murders and leaving shortly after. Detectives were able to link this vehicle to McKee. The vehicle was located in Rockford, Illinois, and evidence was found that showed McKee in possession of the vehicle before and after the homicide.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. If you are a homeowner, this is the time to call American Financing and wipe out your debt. Set yourself up for a strong and thing these bullets can prove. Dan Murphy joining us, former NYPD Detective Sergeant, star of hit podcast Gold Shields, and author. Dan, don't you just love when a defendant, a suspect, is so attached to something about the crime scene that they keep it? It could be, I've seen a lot of cases where the killer kept the victim's jewelry, not necessarily to hawk it, to get money from it, to pawn it, because it so intimately identifies with the victim.
Alright, guys, I'm gonna get ready to go. I'll be back later. Bye, guys. Bye, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow later. Bye.